Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography. Jason, Joe, and Krams are here. The last day of King Crimson week. And it's time for side 3. This week, we were discussing the possibilities for our side 3 topic, and we realized that King Crimson never had a hit, really. 21st Century Schizoid Man, I assumed would have charted, did not really. I think the title track from that record did break the Hot 100 in the US. I forget where it peaked. Do you remember, Joe?
It was like 89 or something.
Yeah, it was in the 80s, I think. And that was their only track to ever crack the Hot 100. So we're going to talk about other bands that never really had a hit, no hit wonders. Obviously, lots of bands never have hits, but we're going to talk about ones that are, well-known bands that you would have expected to have had hits, perhaps, that just actually never did. So
I think you really just have to look at one place. Well, there's a couple ways you have to find these bands that big names never had a big hit. Prog, you would think, but all the big prog bands also turned into like 80s pop bands, so that goes out the window. Really, you got to focus on the metal, because basically none of them ever cracked the top 100. We'll start it off with Judas Priest. They had one track on the Hot 100. You got Another Thing Coming, but only 67. So they're a big one. Also on the list, this one might be surprising because you hear them on the radio a lot now, but actually you don't really hear them that much on the radio ever. The Ramones never had a top. I think their top was like 67 or something, but pop radio ignored punk pretty much almost as much as it ignored metal. And speaking of, another one that we all love, but their highest charting single was number 61, I believe, Paranoid. Black Sabbath never cracked anything higher than that. Also on the list, we're gonna find a different genre to focus on. We got reggae. Bob Marley. Yeah, I think he had like one top 100, and it's none of the good songs that you've heard on the radio. Here's another metal band. Iron Maiden never really had a big hit either. So just find the metal bands. They never really charted well.
The Sabbath is really surprising. Like, you would think Iron Man, Paranoid, all of these would be somewhere during its time. All right, you stole a lot of mine. This was tough because obviously, like, a lot of newer stuff that went, post 90s grunge isn't mainstream for rock or indie rock. But for me, I think the biggest one, and I think it's a band that Joe hates, but a lot of people cite them as monumental and influential, and that's got to be the Velvet Underground. They don't have anything really remotely close. Group we also just did, The Band. Believe it or not, The Weight never really charted that well, which is kind of surprising. They never got anything up there. Another one that's surprising is Soundgarden, because all of the other like major grunge acts, like there's like 5 off Pearl Jam and Nevermind. STP's probably got some, but yeah, not Soundgarden. You would think Black Hole Sun would be the one that could do it, but didn't. I'm going to throw Jeff Buckley in there because I think some of those songs could have been on the radio pretty easily. And it's such a beloved album, but nothing. And then I will also go with, you're starting to hear this name a lot again. A lot of newer artists are starting to cover this artist and cite as an example, and that's Elliott Smith, who we all love. I don't think Angela's charted that high, but I think it's the one that charted the highest. So, but yeah, I mean, Weezer is doing an Elliott Smith inspired album now, and you hear just a lot of people say, like, Phoebe Bridgers is like, oh yeah, I was going for an Elliott Smith thing, and so is trying to do stuff off XO sounding, and just hear it a lot. So I think, yeah, a lot of these, post 90s artists are really starting to get a lot of traction again a little bit, just because there's a little more mainstream artists that are showing their respect to it, but nothing in the Billboard, nothing top 40.
So yeah, it was kind of tricky to find ones that sort of fit the bill, but got a few. Traffic, maybe not super surprising. They're definitely more of an albums band, but never had that hit. Tom Waits, kind of someone with a huge discography, tons of albums, really devoted fan base. He's had songs that he wrote chart for other people, but none of his singles actually ever broke the top 100. Another one that isn't super surprising, but a band that has a huge following is Fish, but never really had a hit. Just sort of cultivated that fan base from touring and playing shows, but never did it with the radio. And then I've also got Bjork, who never really had a hit. I think her highest charting single was in the 80s as well. Big Time Sensuality, I think, was her highest charting song, but as someone sort of like Elliott Smith, is just sort of someone that newer artists kind of reference often and was really kind of influential in things that she did. So one that didn't quite qualify, but I think is worth mentioning, they did peak at number 21 one time, broke the top 40 with a song that isn't really even one of the songs that you hear on the radio by them anymore, and that's Rush.
New World Man.
Not really a song you think of as being one of their bigger songs. That was the only one to crack the top 40.
There were a couple of artists also that I was thinking of that sort of surprisingly did have a top, like they just broke into the top 40. Like Muse had a number 37 with Uprising, and then Kate Bush got up to number 30, but that's the highest she ever got in America with Running Up That Hill. So the 40 and below really sort of precluded almost everybody. Like there wasn't a lot to choose from.
It's worth pointing out that there's like a big difference between the Hot 100 and like the mainstream rock charts too. Because Soundgarden never got into the top 40, but they had lots of mainstream rock chart hits. It's hard to call Black Hole Sun not a hit, but technically if you're going by the Hot 100, it wasn't. A lot of this discussion depends on what you consider a hit and what you consider a well-known artist, and you can draw the line in different places.
A bunch of these artists probably had top 100 hits in Britain too. I only looked at the American charts, but I know like Black Sabbath had a much higher charting run, and obviously Kate Bush. Those Brits, they're totally different kind of what goes on the radio over there than here in America.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of March Badness, and Limp Bizkit charted much better over in the UK than here in the States.
I saw that. They would qualify actually for us, but not for our UK counterparts. So
yeah,
interesting.
Roland actually went to number 1 in England when I thought they had the superior rock taste. I don't know now. Number 1.
What was it in the US? 46 or something?
Who knows? But
point for America there.
Yeah. Although we did create him or them, so sorry.
All right, so if you can think of any more, or if the list is different wherever you are from in the world with different hits, let us know. Be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and check down in the description for links to all of our social media accounts. And we will see you tomorrow for our favorite albums of 2011. Thanks for watching.